Good morning. Good to be back with you guys. Yes, the title of this video is accurate. Inflation is taxation. They're not identical, but they're close and as clear as I can think of two things being. If you look at the definition of the two, they're nearly identical. But what really makes them the same is the spending of money you don't have by a government, by a corporation, by whatever. Now, to clarify that, if you and I decide we vote on a tax for, let's say, fuel, okay? So you have to pay to fix the roads an extra tax. All right, makes sense. You know, we're the guys tearing the streets up. So yeah, well, go ahead and per gallon we'll pay 5 cents, whatever the tax might be. Well, inflation is an ability for, say, elected officials, okay, to impose a tax upon you by printing money, by creating more digits. They don't actually print much money anymore. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's only like 1.4, last time I looked at Fred, 1.4 trillion actual dollars, bills, currency, coin, money. Those are all different things, but the actual bills, there's only 1.4 trillion. Now think about that. There's what, a quadrillion digits around? Yeah. What would happen if all of us just said, no, I actually want the actual 20s or hundreds or whatever in your nationality, your currency denomination they use. So when they decide to tax us with inflation, what do? They spend money they don't have, which devalues the value of each digit of dollar you have in your bank account. If you create more digits, the digits in which you have become less scarce. So you have lost, if you believe today's numbers, we're at over 9% inflation. 9% inflation means that you are losing 9% of each dollar you had earned last year. That is taxation. Because why? Where does it go to? It goes to whatever they want to spend it on. If you look at the last 2 years in the US, they spent 80% of the money on, let's just say, their friends. Corporations, Boeing, banks, bailouts. 80% of the money went to people other than you. However, who takes the hit by having to pay their taxes to pay the debt back? You do. So, is inflation taxation? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How else does inflation affect you in your wallet? It affects everything you do, obviously, but it also makes you spend your money quicker. The faster you spend the money, more valuable it is. The longer you hold on to your money, the less value it is. So now they've got us on this wheel of, well, I better spend it now. I better buy it now because it's only going to get more expensive. That's a tricky wheel for them, because when that wheel starts to spin out of control, we then end up with different situations like the Weimar Republic, where once that inflation wheel gets out of control and people start to realize that I'm going to spend my money today because tomorrow it's going to be worth less. And many of you in some of those nations that are in that situation now understand what that means. Once that thing reaches peak velocity, not even, once it starts gaining momentum, it's a situation that can't be controlled. Because what happens is they have to create more and more and more and more, which creates more and more inflation. And I don't know why, but they keep thinking that if we pay for more things, that our lives will become better. Well, we'll give them more free stuff, and then we'll pay for college tuitions, and we'll do this, and they don't have to pay rent. All of that makes your life more difficult to live. All of that makes, in particular for the elders, elder people who are on a fixed budget, they don't get to play with the new dollars. They have to play with the old dollars. They earn the old dollars, not the new dollars. In other words, their wages can't adjust for inflation. They're stuck with the wages they had. And I want to talk about this one little nuance that a lot of people miss about inflation. I don't mean this to be too serious of a video, but hey, it's a pretty serious subject at this time in our lives. When they say last year was 5% inflation, and they say that this year, okay, we're 9% inflation, I want all of you to understand that that's actually 14% inflation to you today. Why? Because they base inflation over last year's numbers. So the 5 didn't go to 0, right? It was at 5. Now it's at 9, over 9. So what is that? So between now and last year, it's 14%. That's a number they always, year over year. Well, yeah, well, that's great. But what if last year was 50% interest? Oh, well, we're only 14% over year. Well, 14% over a 50% year is 64% inflation. Tricky stuff, right? It's all in the wording. You know how that goes. So just think about the fact that inflation is an ability for your monetary system, government, central bankers to get you to do more for less. That's almost identical to taxation, right? Well, you have to do more to earn less because you're being taxed more, right? I believe the number is that we work until the end of May. Well, here in the U.S., we work to the end of May just to pay the tax bill for that year. So in other words, you've gone to work every day, January 1st to end of May, just to pay your taxes. Gosh, I wish I hadn't said that. That's just painful. That's painful. Well, you know what? I wasn't here to ruin anybody's morning. That's not what this, I didn't mean to, but just try and find a way to get yourself knowledge. Why don't they teach? Why do they just explain the terminology to anybody? Why don't they explain it to you? Why don't they teach that in school? Why is it you don't know these things? Why is it when I go to a cocktail party, nobody in the entire party can tell me how a dollar in the U.S. is created? Why is it nobody in America can tell me what the difference is between a dollar, money, or currency? I don't think they want you to know. I don't think they want you to know that inflation is taxation. Inflation is a right for the well-to-do to create money. And I mean well-to-do meaning whoever's connected to the central banking system, which is mostly the corporations. And they prove that clearly because they got the 80% of the money and you and I got the 20, right? How is the largest supply of people get the smallest piece of the pie? That was taxation. All right, guys, just a quick one for you, and I hope you got something out of it. Anyways, I will be back with more, and thanks for tuning in. I'm out. Well, that was clear as mud.